Welcome, everyone, to episode 197 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Pentalaresco. I write stuff in podcast too. Today, part 2 of my conversation with the epic, one and only Lee F. Patrick is here. It was a really fun conversation to conclude with. I thoroughly enjoy it, and like I said, her nickname now for me is the epic Lee F. Patrick. So, Lee, thank you very much for being on my show. Today's my birthday. And tomorrow I'm off to BC for the Auroras. I'm going to. It's weird. I take this, whether I win or lose, as an opportunity. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to talk to some great people. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to cause as much chaos and mayhem as I possibly can while I'm back in Vancouver. Hopefully I get to see some really cool people. I'm looking forward to seeing Sandra Wickham, Pat Flowing, just to name a few there, and hopefully some others. But yeah, I'm really, really stoked about this. I'm really excited, and yeah, it's just so real. I'm 37 years old. Yeah, getting real close to that big 4-0. And what I've noticed is just, this year for me was definitely a year of, I definitely got recognized for what I've done. So I just want to do this properly here. I want to thank each and every person that's listening to this podcast, who's recommended this podcast, who's rooting for me. I really, really appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed, and hopefully in the days and weeks to come, you'll see more of the same. But for all of that, let's go to Leah Patrick, shall we?
In the steamy Hong Kong night, something waits to breed. Kiss of the Cockroach Queen, the new pulp mythology book from Jim Jackson. Old-style pulp and Chinese mythology explode on the seedy streets of Hong Kong, and only one man can stop it. But he may not want to. Kiss of the Cockroach Queen. Available September 27th on Amazon. For more information, go to reallygoodstory.com. Kiss of the Cockroach Queen.
Yeah, and we grow as people, we grow as writers, we go, oh, well, I had this neat idea, and then all of a sudden you go, holy crap, you look at the Amazon ranking and you're like, what the hell happened there?
Yeah, one day
it's it's the pet rock problem.
Yeah.
You remember pet rocks?
I know, vaguely.
Yeah, you take a rock, you put googly eyes on it, and you maybe paint it a little. It's a pet rock. You sell it for $8.
That's an expensive pet rock. But, yeah.
At the time, these things were sort of like Beanie Babies.
Yeah, Beanie Babies is another one. I never got into that, but I understand.
And all of a sudden, it's a $3 Beanie Baby. It's going on eBay for $30, $50, $120, and then all of a sudden it went. As people went, it's a Beanie Baby. Do we care? No. And all of a sudden it's back to $3.
But for that 1 second, it was insane.
Yeah, it's sort of catching that wave, as it were, of what's the next big thing. But of course, with writing and publishing, the lag time. When something all of a sudden goes, oh yes, we have to do this, and then trying to catch that wave is almost impossible.
I don't even worry about the wave.
Yeah, it's sort of like I'm gonna just put my stuff out, like say both Alter Egos and the next one coming out, The Elanio Air, are both thrillers.
Yeah.
They're science fiction in that they don't take place on Earth. And there's some weird ass, science, in quotes.
Mad science. Yeah.
And then I want to get the Elanio Air out this year, as well as actually the Horse and His Boy story, which is a science fiction novella.
Yeah.
And that one, again, will just be on ebook. What I want to do is put them, the ones in that universe, sort of package them as a twofer. So you've got two novellas plus maybe a short story in there, and package them for the print book that way.
I kind of, so my model, believe it or not, is actor Nicolas Cage. And here's why I say that.
Okay.
Nicolas Cage, if you look at his career, it was a gambler. He would try, okay, for every Con Air, there was 8mm. For every Lord of War, there was something else. But the thing was, it was like every time he went out, he does a part, he takes a swing at the bat. Sometimes he hits a single, sometimes he hits a double, sometimes he strikes out, sometimes he hits a home run. But the thing is, he swings at at not the same pitch, but at different pitches all the time. Yeah. So my philosophy is, and I'm gonna do what I feel is right. Like I did the epic poetry trilogy. Cool. The next thing I'm going to do is a novel, because I need to have a novel under my belt. That's almost ready to go. The next thing after that is a book-board game combo, because why not, right? And then the next thing after that might be what I'm currently working on now. The idea, but the thing is, everything I'm doing is different. So I know, like, I might hit a single, I might hit a double, I might hit a triple, I might hit a home run, I might strike out. But in all these scenarios, in all these cases, it's not like I'm not hitting just one specific field. I'm hitting as many different fields as possible. Now, what I'm hoping will happen is eventually I don't just hit singles or strike out. I'm hitting doubles, triples, home runs every once in a while. And there's a law of averages. If you take X amount of risks, just sheer mathematics, you're gonna hit on one of them sooner or later. And that's kind of my approach. I look at writing to to what's popular right now. Kudos to whoever lands on that right away, because honestly, you can't predict that kind of success. And that's like J.K. Rowling, that's Stephanie Meyer, that's people like that who have come in and just hit a home run out of the park. Yeah. And that's cool.
A lot of people didn't look at the Harry Potter because it's a boarding school story.
Yeah.
And those were so passé. Those were so last century almost.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it hit. And then all of a sudden, that's why the books started getting bigger.
Well, actually, they got bigger.
Because they were not being edited.
No.
Not so much. It was.
No. Actually, it's more. Okay, she had a deliberate design where she was writing to the age of her kids. So, book 1, book 2. Like if you look at it, book 1's small. Book 2's a little bigger, but not much bigger because the kid's only a year older. Book 3 is bigger than books 1 and 2, but not that big because the kid is still a young reader. When you get to book 4, right? When you get to book 4, the kid's now 13, 14. Guess what? The kid can now handle a bigger book. Also, this is the thing too. Book 3, she exploded. It wasn't just kids anymore that were reading her book. It was
adults.
It was adults. So when she got to book 4, that was more adult. Book 5 is the one where you might say, well, that could have used more edits. But that all said, because that's the biggest one in the series, right? That all said, that was like Apex. Book 6 was shorter than book 5. Book 7, it was the finale. So
you got a lot to write.
To a lot to wrap up. It's still smaller than book 5. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you look at what she did, like she consciously designed, she made some conscious choices at the very beginning, and it paid off for her because at the very end, because her kid was 17 when the last, or 18 when the last book was written. And if you look at Harry Potter book 7, that feels like an adult story.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the stuff they have to deal with is very...
Yeah, exactly. And that was the idea. When she starts, he's a kid. And the story is for kids because her kids were kids. Yep. Right? Book 3 is still my favorite of the series because that is the most adult choice he made in the entire series. Was in book 3. Yeah. Right? And that's my favorite. It's like that is the most adult. This is probably what exemplifies Harry Potter as a hero more than any other part because this he confronts his own weaknesses in a way that a lot of adults falter at. That's why that book's my favorite. But 4's good. I like 5. 6 I'm 50-50 on. I loved how it ties into 2, but I'm not crazy about 6. 7 I really like. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those situations where it's not that she made some very deliberate choices, and because she made those choices, that was how it ended, right? Yeah. Could it have been ended a little more? Maybe. Yeah. But not.
But you sort of run into this is this scene is really a lot like this scene 20 pages ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the point already. You know, and there was some of that repetitious scene thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sort of like, okay, here we go again. It's kind of like in some novels where they have to explain something to you every novel, and in usually a really bad place because you want the action to keep going. They segue into, here's this explanation, and you're like, I know this stuff. I don't care anymore. Put it in the end where it belongs.
Actually, personally, I think the guy I found that was guilty of this, and I eventually stopped reading him, was Terry Goodkind.
Yeah, I stopped reading him a while back.
Yeah. His descriptive of the Confessor's power in the very beginning of the series is one of the cleanest things I have ever seen.
Yeah.
You get it. It's brilliant. It's actually, again, my opinion, that was how he described her power and how it worked without actually saying too much, told you absolutely everything. And then there was a book where they fought an astral projector essentially. And so he made it a point to explain her power in 3 pages. Not the 2 sentences that he had, but 3 pages. The idea was he was trying to establish the fact that her power was super quick. So when she fought the astral projector, it would exemplify just how dangerous he was when he circumvented the power. That was the idea. The reality of it, though, was those 2 sentences said it all, and all you really had to do to show how quick the slide was 1 sentence. Right, but again, this is one of those situations where you have an idea how it works. You look at like all of Rowling's stories; they all follow a certain formula. They all do. They all 1 through 7 all follow certain structural, formulaic style. It just every single one of them. There's a start. The darkest moment in the books happens at the exact same moment. The renewal or the resurgence of the hero happens in the exact same spots. And it doesn't matter if it's book 1 or book 7. It's all in those spots. So what happens is, what happens with, right, you can kind of see some things coming. But that all said, sometimes that's part of fun too.
Yeah.
Right?
Or there's a bit of a left turn at some point.
Well, that's saying.
It's sort of it's not exactly what you expected, but it.
Well, here's the thing: when you have a formula, the cool thing about a formula is you can establish a set thing like this, and then when you tell that story again, well, then okay, it's this, and then you can hit the audience with something that's perfectly logical. Right? It's like a twist, because the worst twists that happen are the ones that come out of left field you don't see coming.
Yeah.
Right? Like you literally, there's nothing to indicate like this is here. But the best twists are the ones that are logically built into the story because of how the formula works. And then when you get there, you're like, I never thought of that, but it works.
But then you go back and you think about all this other things, and you go, oh yeah, there was that and that. And that.
Yeah. It makes total sense. Like the audience wants to be taken for a ride. The challenge a writer has is to understand the kind of ride they want to go on. What and this comes down to what I do is like, what's my book? Like what's my book? Like what is this exactly? Mm-hmm. And then this is one of those, like, again, I can throw as much weird stuff on top of the jelly donut I want to. But I know what type of jelly donut it is at the very beginning, and I do not deviate from said jelly donut, right? And that doesn't mean like everything I'm going to do works, but I know what so fundamentally, this is A. A is always going to be A, no matter what I do. This is what it has to be. So ergo, I can do this, and this. All right, and now think about it. So A to B to C to D. What if I went from A to B to E and then back to C to D to G, right? And then it's like I can twist it. I can make a knot, and that'd be a lot. And again, as long as there's a progression to the knot, the audience will follow you. It's when you go A B Z. The audience is like, I was with you here.
And then all of a sudden, you know, the anvil came out and
the anvil nails Daffy Duck in the head, and now he's seeing stars, and it's out of nowhere. It's like,
you gotta see the thing go. Wing.
No, there has to be a logical. There has to be a logical progression.
And that's where, again, sometimes it's like, okay, we're here. In another series, yes, I have, like I say, I have a lot of things on the hard drive. It's a 3-book series, fantasy. In the first book, it is set in an way earlier time period than 2 and 3, but the same main character is there. It's fantasy. We'll just go with that. And I knew that a war starts in part 1, and basically the hero's people are, you know, being hunted down, and you know, the war is to annihilate them. And when he wakes up in part 2, he knows that some of his people survived, but he still isn't sure why the war happened. And I wasn't sure who was behind the war. It wasn't until I got into part 3 that I went, oh, right, it's this guy who's a very minor blip in part 1. He's the reason why the war happens.
So
I had to go back, and again, this is why I like writing all of them down.
It's all good. It's all good, yeah. Before
you publish part 1, I need, so I could go back into part 1 and expand this Blip's role, and the fact that the main character, Durant, completely ignores what happened with him. It's like, this happened, you know, it's sort of I've got my own issues that I'm dealing with, and he basically ignores the whole guy, who is really pissed because of what Durant did, and decides that, no, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get all of these people down here. And that's why the war happens.
And whereas me, I like that. Like, again, for me, this book here, I know A through Z. Yeah. I know it already in my head, like A through Z. And if I do a book 2, I know the A through C through book 2. And if I do a book 3, because it would be 3 if it was done, I don't know all of A through Z, but I have like A, F, J. I got enough pieces that I can put it together, right? And the thing of it is, right? I like, again, writing this, like, okay, I'm playing with stuff right now. It's like, what if I did? Chapter 1 is literally almost an A to Z story, a really simple A to Z story in of itself. Mm-hmm. Chapter 2 is years later, and chapter 2 is like, okay, so as a result of Z here, where would A here be, and why? Mm-hmm. I had to answer those questions, right? So my challenge now is, okay, 2 things: my main character's tone at the start of A. There's a very fine balance here, right? I'm going to have to really kick, because I know what she needs to be to start with, but I also have to be careful, because there's a fine line with Death Wish, right? Some people's death wishes are very subtle, some are very pronounced, and she has to be somewhere in between that.
Yeah.
Too pronounced, she commits suicide. Too subtle, when I get to the real crux,
the reader's not going to pick up on it if it's too subtle.
Yeah. Whereas if it's too out there, they're going to be like, well, why doesn't you just pull the trigger now? Right? Because that's a very fine line. So I know that might be the most revision, is that balance between nothing to lose and nothing to live for.
Yeah.
Right?
And in some other things, it's... Yeah. You know, I have a character who's like, why don't I just die? But they they have to have something to live for.
Yeah.
A really, oh God, can I remember the name of it? I may have to email you the
No, it's all good. It's all good.
But it's a nonfiction book that looks at why people survive. So, it's going to bother me now. Hopefully I'll remember it before the end of this. But he looked at what did people need? Sort of like the movie with the FedEx plane going down, and having the basket soccer ball with the handprint on it. That was his buddy. Why would somebody try and hold on? Is it a loved one? Is it a child? Is it just because they're too damn determined that they're not going to die? And when would they give up? Even with that reason to live, what would it take for them to just go, I can't deal with this anymore? And that balance, as you say, is kind of a,
it's tricky.
Where do you and what circumstances do you have to put that character in to get them to that, I don't care anymore, I'm giving up?
Oh, I answered that question in chapter 1 pretty hard, right? The question I have to ask is, okay, from the starting point, I understand nothing to lose. I really understand that, right? But nothing to lose and nothing to live for is a very fine line, right? It takes a certain mentality to be on the nothing to lose side, without having any why am I dying, like why am I still alive? And that's a really so I'm tinkering with that literally in my head right now. How am I going to do that? And I know I literally know that the opening page is going to determine the whole mood of where she starts and how I'm going to progress her the rest of the way forward, and it's going to be all on this one page.
And that's where beta readers can come in very handy, because they read it, and then you say, okay, what do you think this character's, what do you think of their journey?
Mostly, I know when I get to that, I was like, do you believe this? Because that's the real question. Because if you buy this,
then you've got them for the rest of the story.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Do you buy this moment at this point? It's going to, when this episode's going to come out, this actually might be written. It depends on how this has come out really easy so far. I know there's going to be a moment where it's not going to come quite so easy, but I've had it in me for a long time, so I know it's going to be like this.
And like I say, sometimes when you go back and read things, you go, ooh, that's really good. I wrote that?
Yes.
I don't remember writing that.
And sometimes it's the opposite. It's like, it's terrible. What the hell was I thinking?
Well, I actually tried with the first novel I wrote. I got an agent, which turned out to be a really bad idea, because they were a wholly owned subsidiary of a vanity press. And they had a box with, I think it was about 600 pages, because of course everything's double spaced. This was way back, which may have been part of the reason why I stopped trying to get things published, but just the bad vibe from that. But I actually got away from all of that without having paid the money, which was very rare at the time. And so I got the box back with the novel in it, and I went, well, I'm going to reread it. And I reread it and went, oh, this is so badly written. But I still liked the novel. I liked the characters. I loved how he killed. Actually, I had a sniper in there too, and he gets rid of the bad guy way toward the end, and it was like
note to self.
note to self: do not get Lee cranky.
No. Do not get Lee a sniper rifle. Although I know your significant other, that actually probably wouldn't be a problem. But, but that's neither here nor there. Right?
There's a reason why Barrett is named that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Well, his name is Barrat, but there is the Barrett sniper rifle.
Yes.
So there's that little thing. But anyway, but what I did with that was to make a sort of a flow chart. Okay, in chapter 1, this happens. In chapter 2, this happens, and then just sort of took the whole thing, put it over there, and then just started rewriting from scratch.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It
had been a year and a bit since I'd last.
See, for me, I find that super hard because this is what happens with me. I find a window for me for an idea is about 3 years. Mm-hmm. Because in 3 years, I've matured. So if I go back to a novel I've written 3 years ago, I can do a much better foundation anymore now. But the problem is, I can't. I've said this. I don't know how many of my podcasts. I've said this before. Like a 5-year-old stick figure drawing is better than mine, and it's not because of technique. Although in my case, that's just barely true. But
I can't draw a circle.
Yeah. But it's not that. It's the fact that technically I might be better, but the voice of the 5-year-old is purer. So there's just something in that drawing that's better than what I can do because I can't duplicate that intent. So when I look at a novel of mine that's 3 years ago, well, 3 years ago I was a slightly different person, and that intent and that voice is a little different. My voice now, right? I could take that idea, I could make it, I think, technically better, but I won't have the same keeping the intentions or the voice as strong as when it was when it first came out is really hard. That's what I have found personally. So
I don't know, I should go back and I still have the box.
Yeah.
But comparing then that with the rewritten version with how I can write now, might be an interest, if I in my copious free time.
Yeah.
But just going, because I really did like a lot of it, and a lot of it is the same story, but technically it is, I think, much better written.
Oh yeah.
So the technique, the word choice, the
and I am
just that
I don't doubt that even one bit.
Yeah.
Like that's not the question.
It's still pretty much the same book.
Yeah.
But just because I went, okay, well, yeah, I could go back to the original file and start, tweaking the things, but then I mean, that's just it's gonna read really badly then.
No,
it's gonna be better, and then there's gonna be some of the original crappy stuff.
I broke a novel that way, like for that exact reason. Actually, I edited it too much. I learned that a long time ago. Like, it's easier to build a new foundation at that point. But again, this is just a personal thing. I have found that when I'm writing something, if I've written it out already, it's really hard for me to do the same thing, even though technically it will be better. Mm-hmm. I don't know if my heart will be into it the exact same way, and because of that, it's like the Carpet People with Terry Pratchett.
Yeah.
Carpet People at 14, like he said this, the hardest thing about that was to respect 14-year-old Terry, because 14-year-old Terry's intent was better than his, and he knew it, right? He was smart enough to realize that. That's why that's such a hard balance, right? Because
water for you guys.
But also, I can say, I wrote that in 1980. Also, I was still adult then. I wasn't a 14-year-old. I'm not going to say exactly.
Do you want them over here or like over here?
But I was mature.
Yeah.
But it was that my writing style was immature.
Yeah.
So going back, plus I really loved the characters.
Oh yeah.
I did such nasty things to that poor guy.
Mommy.
And that's the other thing, folks. Writers, we're all villains at heart, all of us.
Oh yeah, we do such nasty things to our characters. But actually, you know, that idea of the revision is also with that short story I'm rewriting now, where I was told, yeah, it's got great bones, but here's all this other stuff that actually will make it a better story. I started a new file and went, okay, this, you know, and sort of did point form of this has to happen, then this, and then this, just sort of as headers for getting all of the stuff to where I actually could start writing. And sometimes, and then going back to the original story, because, you know, like I remember I had a really good bit there, and it was sort of a bit of cut and pasting, but most of it is just, you know, all de novo, because things have changed, some of the circumstances. So it is going to be a different story, but I think it's going to be a much better one.
And if you can pull that off, kudos to you, right? I mean,
So,
I personally find it's.
But that story was written maybe a year and a half ago.
Well, please, I've never
So
done
it's
it
still pretty close to when I originally wrote it.
Yeah, like I said, for me, I find 3 years is my magic window, and then after that, it's like if I do it.
Well, like going back to that first novel now and trying to rewrite it would, I think, be tougher, because then again, I might not, you know, I might see some plot holes and like, okay, well, I can just tweak a few things, and then again, I might just go, yep, let's get it into the right, you know, reformat it, put it into the template, and whack her out there.
Up and away.
Yeah. The first two were completely written. The third one, I got distracted on. And then there were the other, you know, sort of shorter fiction. That's like you say, that was my problem then, was to, you know, oh look, shiny. Oh look, a new idea.
I'm a big fan of you and your husband both. You're just that. Yeah. That you're not as legendary as he is, because he is simply.
I have the epic hair.
You have epic hair. Okay.
Epic and awesome hair.
I can call you the epic though. Is Miss Epic good for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Epic.
He's awesome.
No. Legendary.
Legendary and epic.
They're close, and they're just different enough that, you know, they're different people, but, you know, in that same caliber, right?
Yeah. Well, he started writing quite a bit after I did, and but then he's got more books out right now than I do, because he was more focused on getting them out.
Yeah, no, and that's it takes that, like, it takes a certain I said this not too long ago on my Facebook, and I'm probably going to do a blog about this at some point. It's like the formula for success. As little as I've had, it's imagination, the passion, and faith to see it through. It takes all three of those things. The visualization of where it goes is the least important, but you have to have at least an idea where it starts. The passion to work it through and have the focus and determination. Mm-hmm. Focus is a thing I find with a lot of people, including me. And then finally, just the faith of, like, I can do this, I will do this, and see it through all the way to the end.
One of the other things that I did when I got determined was to work out a business plan.
Yeah.
What was I going to do? You know, I needed the checklist. I needed that structure, that I was going to send out X number of pieces of short fiction. I was going to get X novel out. I was going to go to X number of conventions. I was, one of the things, and I actually hit all the metrics. I was going to write X number of words per day, averaged out. I've gotten enough words so far this year to be into mid-September.
It's good.
So I'm ahead of that, which, kind of meant going after When Words Collide didn't truly impinge on that metric. But it gives me I need to get my butt in the chair, I need to write. Mm-hmm. And I need to finish things and submit them. I didn't say publish on the short fiction because you can never tell. It's so much of a crapshoot.
It's the rest. It's part of my rest is rain thing. Like you can do everything up to that point. You are in control, but once it's out there, you just shrug. That's all you can do.
It's going out.
Yeah.
For some of the pieces that have come back, I've actually gotten some quite good critique. And then you go, okay, well, yeah, I can. Then you go back and you look at it and you go, well, yeah, I can see that.
Are your rejections getting nicer? Because mine have gotten to the point where they're actually nice, which is
some of them are. I got one recently that there was just a blank email in the sort of in the header to it, it said, to find out your result, go to this. They have their own.
Sounds like a game show.
It was a gong show because they have their own submission thing. Like
yeah. Most of them do now. Yeah.
And so you had to go there. So I had, oh crap, what was the login thing? I go through my login list and go, okay. So I log in. And you have to go to this and this and this and okay. Oh, it was rejected. Well,
so it's like one of those.
It's like 4 steps until you find out that you've got a rejection.
Do you remember those little paper make things where you pick one and you open it up and
the little
yeah. Will I get in this thing?
Yeah,
Reject. Damn it! It's like no.
So that was and there was absolutely no other comment on it.
Whereas with me, what I find is this has happened in the last little bit. I have been asked to submit stuff now, which is a nice feeling. Yeah. And even when I'm not asked to submit stuff, what happens now is, so I got rejected. I didn't able to submit the last 2, but the prior one I did. That was such a nice rejection. I'm actually afraid what would have happened to me if I heard a yes, because it was so nice. And then one editor asked me. She every time she rejects me, it's like, I am going to work with you some point. I know it. It's just hasn't hit, right? And that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah. Or you get the rejection that says, I really like this, but the way the anthology generally is progressing, this doesn't fit with the
and that is totally reason. That's totally reasonable.
You go, okay.
Yeah.
Because at least it's not. Okay, this was well written, but it didn't fit. Okay.
The board.
That's okay. You can, and they'll maybe have a sentence or 2 saying, "I got confused about this bit." So you go, okay, I can go fix that bit and then
it's how
ship it out.
That's actually how the board game happened.
Yeah.
Because I was rejected for the exact reason. It just didn't fit the direction of the anthology. Then they told me, this is publishable. This is actually legitimately publishable. Do something to get it. Yes.
Yeah. And
so
I got rejected from another anthology. It was actually the Steak Knife Killer story because it wasn't speculative enough.
Which that's a crapshoot. That's a crapshoot. Okay.
I had tried getting it into basically some mystery markets, and it just never quite clicked. But
again, that's part of the same. Like the short fiction in one sense is not as important as part of the career as it used to be. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. It's actually nice because it helps get your name out there.
And it's that brand.
Exactly.
That people go, oh, that was a fun story. I wonder what else this person has written, and then they can, check on Amazon or the Facebook page.
For me, there's a couple magazines I really want to try to get into. One of them's Pulp, and one of them's Shimmer. because those are just cool magazines.
Yeah.
They're just cool. I don't really care. Like, if I ever get in more than once, it's like I was in a super. It
was the bragging rights. So it's like getting the Aurora nomination. Nobody can ever take that away from us.
Yeah.
We were nominated, even if we don't win. We have that.
Yeah, exactly.
We can put that pin up on our.
No, not that we were none. It's even better. We were a finalist. We weren't just none.
It's because there's the eligibility list, and then it's the the voting. We're in the voting package.
Yes. Yeah. It was such a weird. In my case.
The words they use are sometimes a little odd.
No, that might be true, but I look at it like this. I in my case in particular, I've already won because I didn't put myself down for eligibility. Somebody else did. I know who it was. Somebody else did. I found out on When Was Collide who that was. And then enough people said, yeah, he should. And here I am.
To get on.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's pretty much how I. So for me, I've already won. It doesn't really matter if I win or I don't. I was good enough.
That people cared.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's all I care about.
What another thing is finding your books in the library.
Yeah.
And then finding out because anybody can submit a request to the library to say, hi, I want this, I want this book. If they get enough of them, they go, well, okay, well, let's have a look at this, and it goes on to their acquisition list.
Yep. And actually, that's the real success for an author is when you're in the libraries, because the biggest book fans on the planet are libraries. They are, like, legit. And so if you're on their list, then you're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just as the ebook.
Yeah.
Then that's
plenty.
That's great because you're on the list and you have the potential for getting a check every year.
Yeah, exactly. Which
is really nice.
Well, especially since essentially after the first time, it's essentially for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yes, the dream. Well, Miss Lee.
And it's time to go.
We had a wonderful chat. We really have. But I think we have a decent interview. What do you think? Do we have a decent interview?
I think it's covered a lot of fun things.
Was it fun?
It was fun.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. You are either going to tell me what you were nominated for the Auroras, or you can tell me what's coming up next. This will air probably September-ish. Just give you an idea where we're at and how people find you.
Okay, next thing coming up is a novel called The Alano Heir, a thriller about a young man whose extended family is trying to rearrange the corporate headquarters by getting rid of him and his dad. Fun things happen. The cover's in prep, so that'll be out real soon now.
Nice.
You can right now just find me on Facebook under Lee F. Patrick. There's a Facebook page. People there get first notice of everything else that's happening, and usually writing related, but sometimes things like we got the meteor coming through, and that post went viral, which surprised me. But yeah, you find out about things early, and I'll be getting the website together sometime, hopefully this year. But
you never know.
You never know. But
that's Twitter, Instagram, anything like that. I'm not really on it. I actually do have a Twitter handle. I haven't looked at it in probably a year and a half. So in that case, okay, Twitter's out. No. Okay.
But on the Facebook is probably the best way to connect, and that will also have when I have signings and whatnot.
Fair enough. And that will do it for Leah Patrick. Check out her book, Altered Ego, is available now on Amazon and wherever books are sold. Leave her a review. She is awesome. As I've said, truly an epic individual. I hope you enjoyed the conversation we've had in the last few days. That will do it, everyone. Thanks for the birthday wishes, each and every one of you. I appreciate it. Outside of that, thanks for listening. You can support the podcast in a number of different ways. There is Podomatic or iTunes. You subscribe to them right now. That would be fantastic and wonderful. You can also buy my books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, The Wandering God. Currently available at mirrorworldpublishing.com. There is a sale half off on all my books this month there. You should definitely take advantage of the opportunity. Go there. Mirror World Publishing is an amazing little house. So, you know what? Check them out and their other books as well. I have archived episodes on my YouTube. You should definitely check those out. Finally, thank you very, very much for listening to my podcast. I will see you guys next time. In the meantime, stay out of trouble or don't get caught. All right?
Josh. Shush.